Well, good morning, YouTube friends and family, and welcome to Vlogmas episode number 4. So today we're going to do something really fun and really delicious. We are going to make hot cocoa bombs. And don't despair if you've never heard of hot cocoa bombs. Quite honestly, I had never heard of them either, but I started seeing them appearing on people's Facebook feeds. And even though I'm not a huge fan of chocolate, it was so intriguing and so cool. I thought, I bet I can make them. So this morning I actually did a trial batch and I'm happy to report 2 thumbs up. They came out beautifully. So let me show you what they look like. So as you see, they're just round balls, but inside is the magic. And they are filled with hot cocoa mix and mini marshmallows. So what you do is you put one of the hot cocoa bombs into a cup, then you pour hot milk over top of it, and the chocolate shell melts, and then out pops all those pretty little marshmallows and chocolatey goodness, and you can just stir it up and enjoy some hot chocolate. So let me show you how to make them. It's very, very simple. So the first thing you're going to need a spherical, or half spherical, I should say, silicone mold. So I bought these on Amazon. It came in a package of 2. This one obviously was the one I used earlier. And I'm going to, so I don't forget, I'm going to share with you, I highly, highly recommend don't make more than 6 halves or 3 holes at a time, simply because the chocolate begins to set up, and that's when you're going to have problems. So you need the mold. The second thing that you're going to need is you're going to need chocolate, obviously. So I went for the good stuff. This is 85% cocoa. I did buy this at Aldi. It's a total of 4.4 ounces. A recommended batch is 6 ounces of chocolate. So after watching 50 people on YouTube make hot cocoa bombs, I've learned that if you put some chocolate chips in, it helps to temper the chocolate so it comes out shiny and pretty and not cloudy or brittle. So I bought the dark chocolate Nestle Toll House 53% cacao chocolate chips. So you need chocolate, 6 ounces. You're going to need some type of hot cocoa mix. You could use your own homemade hot cocoa mix. Since I normally don't drink hot cocoa, I didn't have any homemade, so I actually bought this at Aldi, and I chose the one without the mini marshmallows and the one that said you could mix it with water or milk. The other thing you're going to need, of course, is some mini marshmallows. I just chose the great value, inexpensive ones. And you can also vary the flavors. So if you want, say, chocolate caramel, you can change up the hot cocoa mix to include like a salted caramel hot cocoa mix. I think it would be interesting to put a little bit of instant coffee for sort of a mocha flavor, so that is an option as well. But for purposes of this video, we're going to just make the straight up chocolate with mini marshmallows. So let me swing you around and show you. I do have my cup from this morning, and it still has a little bit of chocolate in it, but I'm going to go ahead and open up this additional chocolate, and these actually come in 5 little bars. Oop. Out of there. And what I did, so that it would melt pretty evenly, because you're going to be putting small chocolate chips in it, I just broke it into pieces. And hear that lovely snap? That lovely snap is a well-tempered chocolate. So this is what the little bars look like. So I'm just going to break up these. Oh, and you know what? I was going to weigh this, and I didn't, did I? So let me turn the scale on. Oop. And the door fell off. I'm really going to have to break down and get a new scale, because my poor scale, certainly several years old, but it's actually falling apart. And one of the reasons that it is having so much difficulty has to do with all the essential and fragrance oils. They're very destructive to plastic, so that I did not realize when I first started using the scale. Now I cover it with some Glad Press and Seal. That helps protect the metal, the actual scale, but without the door, if things get on those electronic buttons, I'm afraid it's going to quit working. Okay, so this is actually 4.5 ounces. So to that, I'm just going to add enough chocolate chips to make 6 ounces. Now, how long you will need to microwave this depends on a couple factors. It depends on your microwave wattage. It depends on the temperature in your house. One thing about chocolate, if you overheat it in the microwave, it will burn. You can do this in a double boiler as well. I chose not to use a double boiler because if you get any water in chocolate, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but the chocolate will immediately seize up. So I didn't want it around water. When you put it in the microwave, you want to do it at 30-second increments and then stir it between each 30-second increment. And let as much of that chocolate melt in the already melted chocolate that you possibly can so that you're not overcooking or scorching your chocolate. So I'm going to actually heat this up and I'll bring you back to show you next steps. All right, well, it took in my microwave 1 minute, 50 seconds, and the chocolate is nice and liquid. So what you want to do, I've put the silicone mold on a cookie sheet so that it's a little bit stiffer because the silicone's kind of floppy. And you want to put, I didn't measure it, I just tried to put about an equal amount in each one. And I'm going to say it's going to depend on the size of your sphere. It's more than a tablespoon, so probably about 1.5 tablespoons to 2 in each one of the little sections. And you do want to make sure that your mold is lying as flat as possible. Now you may be wondering, oh my word, how are you going to get it, clear up the sides? And I'm going to show you that. Very simple. So take an ordinary tablespoon and then work the chocolate up on to the sides of the mold. So I'm just going around the mold, and certainly gravity is going to push the chocolate back down, but there is a solution for that. And I will show you that as we go along. So there's quite a bit still pooled at the bottom, but we're going to get rid of that excess in just a moment. So continue to push that chocolate up to the sides on each one. And then I will bring you back in just a moment and show you how you get rid of the excess chocolate. All right, well, I've gone around and made sure all the edges of each one of these are coated. So I actually went around twice with the spoon. So now what I'm going to do, slide this down. I'm going to take a cookie sheet with the Sil-Pat on it, which is a silicone non-stick pad. If you don't have one of these, I think you could use wax paper, or you could use the shiny side of freezer paper as well. You want to quickly turn it upside down and let all that excess drain out. So this will prevent you from having like a really thick bottom to your cocoa bombs. Okay. So as you can see, we have some chocolate that gets onto the mold. So I'm just using an offset spatula to scrape the edges. What you don't want is that real thin piece of chocolate at the edge, because then when you try to remove it from the mold, it has a tendency to break. So clean up your mold so that the edges are clean. Doesn't matter if it's on the mold in various spots, but I would just get it away from the edges. Okay, now this Sil-Pat, what I'm going to do is pop it in the freezer. The chocolate will harden, and then I can remelt it and use it for more cocoa bombs. So hang on just a second. All right, now we still have one issue. Even though we've coated the entire half sphere, I will tell you it's very, very thin because of gravity at the edges. So get yourself a new clean paintbrush. You could probably do this with a spoon, but I just found a paintbrush works beautifully. And I'm just dipping it in, and then I'm coating just the top edge. And let me see if I can pull you a little closer when I finish this one so that you can see what I'm doing a little better. See if that's better. So I'm kind of scraping the chocolate off right at the top edge like this. And you want to make sure you don't have any holes or any bare spots, because obviously that is going to translate into the half sphere, and then you're going to have a hole in your hot cocoa bomb, which would be so sad. The first batch that I did, I was so pleased because I thought this was going to be really hard. Some of the videos I watched, people were just really struggling and, you know, saying that it was a fail and don't try it. And I took that as a challenge, actually, because I have made a lot of candies in my lifetime, and I'm like, okay, well, you just got to follow chocolate principles. That will make it come out properly. So I'm just going around the edges of these 6 half spheres, and I'm actually going to do that 3 times. Excuse the chocolate on my hands. It's a little bit messy. So I know you don't want to stand and watch me paint chocolate. So I'll bring you back when I have them all thickly coated. Okay, well, I've done 3 coats of chocolate at the edges, slopped a little bit on the mold, but again, the edges are largely clean, so it'll be just fine. Now what you want to do is you want to put this into your refrigerator, not your freezer. The freezer can make it very, very brittle, and also if it partially freezes, when it starts to thaw, it can get kind of mushy. So 15 minutes in the freezer. I'm going to wash all the chocolate off myself, and I'll bring you back to show you next steps. Okay, our 15 minutes have elapsed, and I want to show you what your cocoa bomb should look like at this point. So you see how it's kind of dull? It's no longer bright and shiny. You want to make sure there aren't any wet spots, shiny looking wet spots. And we're going to pop these out and put them onto the Silpat where we had our excess chocolate. So this has been in the freezer, and it just peels off in nice big chunks. And you could put this back into your liquid chocolate at this point. Oh, I'm crooked, aren't I? But I'm not going to do that because then it will cool down the chocolate and you'll have to remelt. So the chocolate is still fairly liquid at this point. And I'm going to just leave it alone. And we may come back and use that again. Okay, now comes the tricky part. So you want to push from the middle. You don't want to push or try to peel from the edges. So push it from the middle, and out pops the half sphere. Now you can see there's a little bit of an imperfection where I didn't quite get enough chocolate there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just sit this one in here because I'm going to paint a little more chocolate on it and let that dry while we work on the other ones. So that's what I found the first time around is, seems like no matter how careful you are, you're still going to end up with some bare spots. And actually, I'll just leave it there. So again, pushing from the middle, turning your mold inside out, and see how beautifully shiny that is. And I'm sitting them over on that Silpat that we just took the chocolate out of. Now, don't worry if your edges aren't perfect. You know, here's a little boo-boo on one, which we can recoat. That's probably the easiest thing to do, is just recoat it. And wouldn't you know, the first time I did it, I did not have as much problem as I'm having this time, so I may not have coated it quite as thickly as I did the first time, but you can certainly repair, don't despair. Okay, there's a perfect one. And this little bit of raggedness, I'll show you how we're gonna fix that. So my perfect ones are going over here on the Silpat. And yeah, there we go. Another nice one. And again, that little bit of ruffle on the edge, don't worry about it. I'm going to show you how we fix that. So this is the last one here. And I'm going to let these dry for just a moment. And in the meantime, here's what I'm going to do. I have taken one of my cast iron skillets. I have put some non-stick cooking spray in there. Oil is fine with chocolate, water is not. We're gonna heat this up on the stove because we're gonna actually melt the edges of our cocoa bomb so that they're nice and smooth and have melty chocolate. And then we can stick the two sides together once we fill them with the cocoa and marshmallows. So I'll bring you back in just a moment. All right, I'm gonna try a new angle here and hope that that will enable you to see a little bit better. So I patched the little cracks at the edge. They came out just fine. I have heated my cast iron skillet until, you know, you can definitely feel heat coming off of it. And then very gently, I'm going to place the half in, run it around a couple times, and lift it out. Oh my word. Oh well, you're good there, right? So what that did is it just smoothed all the edges so that it will be a lot easier to put the spheres together. So let me just do these two. And this melts really quickly, for sure. And obviously, your sphere is not going to be completely spherical if you take a little bit off of it, but I don't find that really impacts the look. All right, let me wash the chocolate off my hands. I think I've done that about 1,000 times so far today. But this dark chocolate actually stains your fingernails, so I don't paint my nails or get my nails done or anything, but you don't want it to look like I've been digging in the dirt when it's actually just chocolate. So I ended up putting half a pack of cocoa mix in each because you have to remember that there's a lot of chocolate, so you probably don't need a whole packet of hot cocoa mix. At least that is what I saw shared, you know, on various videos that I watched. Next thing you want to do is pop in your mini marshmallows. I like the marshmallows. I think that's the best part of the hot chocolate. So you can kind of mound them up because you will have some room when you put the second dome on. And again, you could add a little instant coffee. You could do a variety of things to change up the flavor. Okay, so for our second half, we're gonna do the same thing. Melt it just a touch at the edges and stick it together. Grab a paper towel here. There we go. So if you want to be really, really perfect, you can smooth that excess chocolate with your finger. And also that will seal up any little holes. I probably shouldn't be waving this around like I am. So here you have it. I'm going to set this aside for just a moment. And I'm going to continue gluing these together. You guys get the idea. I really need like my full attention and 2 hands to do it. And then I'll bring you back and show you how you can decorate the tops. So I actually put the chocolate back into the microwave for about 20 seconds so that it would be nice and thin. And I'm just going to take a fork and go back and forth in 2 directions over the top. If you have the colored chocolate, like the chocolate wafers, you know, comes in red and green and white and all different colors, you could also use that and get really fancy. I don't happen to have any of those, and actually I'm not a fan of that taste. It's so fakey. So while that chocolate is hot, then you can add your sprinkles. So let me put these on here and then I will tell you what I did. I did try sanding sugar. I did not like the look of the sanding sugar nearly as well. I thought, first of all, it kind of clumped up, but I thought these just look super festive. So you want to allow that chocolate to harden that we just put on. And then you have a couple options of how you want to store them. So for the first ones that I made, I put them in just the little cupcake tins, the aluminum looking ones. And that worked really, really well. So if you're having like a hot cocoa bar and you want to have them out, I think that's a good idea. I actually have some foil wrappers, and these I purchased to use to wrap bath bombs in, but they will conform. Just take one out, you know, to the shape of whatever, so they are truly like foil. And you might have to use 2 to get all the way around it. You could use 2 of the same color. You could get fancy and use 2 colors and do it on the diagonal. So there's lots of options. So I'm gonna keep making the rest of my chocolate because we don't waste chocolate ever because I think these would just make a lovely gift. And I'm gonna take a couple over to my neighbors. I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure that they like hot chocolate. And so I'm gonna finish this up and I'll bring you back, and I'm actually gonna have a cup of hot cocoa and I will show you what it looks like when you add the milk. So stay tuned. Well, I decided to take a little break and come in and sit at my hot cocoa bar and just relax and have myself a cup of cocoa before I finish up the remainder of the hot cocoa bombs. I am gonna try the coffee in the remaining chocolate. I think it'll just be really good, and I prefer coffee to chocolate. So what I've done is I got these cute little mugs at Walmart, and they're like aluminum. So I have placed the hot cocoa bomb in there, and let's see if I can show you. I have heated up my almond milk, and I am just going to, ooh, that's hot, pour it in. And yes, I'm not giving you a good demonstration, but out comes all of the beautiful marshmallows. I wish there was a way to show you better. There we go, that's better. And these are reusable metal straws that came from Grove, actually. It was free with my order this month. I order a lot of their natural cleaning products. Even though I make a lot of things, I do enjoy some of their products that either are more difficult to make, or I prefer the store-bought to homemade. So all of that delicious chocolate has melted. Doesn't that look absolutely yum? So let's give it a taste test. I will say this is probably not going to be terribly sweet. Because the marshmallows have sugar, because the hot cocoa mix has sugar, because I have a doctor's appointment on December 17th where I have to weigh, I did not add any sugar. If you like a really sweet hot chocolate, you may prefer that, but let's taste. Oh no, it's actually plenty sweet. Oh, that is really good. Really deep, rich chocolate. So I hope you will give this a try. So I will be gifting most of these cocoa bombs. Not really because I dislike cocoa, but I've shared with you all that I have been really working on my weight. So just to brag a little on myself, I have lost 27 pounds, which is great. So I'm back to my pre-back surgery weight, and my back surgery was a year ago, May. And after my back surgery, if you've been with my channel a while, you know, I ended up with 9 pelvic and lower spine fractures, which made me immobile for quite some time, and I did not change my eating habits. So yeah, I packed on the weight. So I'm really happy with where I am. Since I've only been dieting since August 10th, but who's counting? But I've kind of slacked off the last month, and I really need to get back on it for the next couple of weeks before I see the doc. So otherwise, I'll be wanting to take all my clothes off in the hallway where you weigh, and they kind of frown on that. So let me know. Is this something that you would like to try? Or have you already tried it? And if so, what is your favorite hot chocolate combination? What flavors do you like to add? You know, you could add like some raspberry extract into your actual cup of cocoa. Not the liquid into the cocoa bombs, but you could certainly add it, you know, at the table. You could put whipped cream, you could put sprinkles, you could do a variety of things. So let me know what your thoughts are or what your ideas are. I will be seeing you throughout the week this week. I seem to be back on track after my surgeries. I'm feeling so much better. I did have my post-op appointment with the oral surgeon, and the one side that he did is fine. The other side, it's just a wait and see game to see if any of the bone grows. Evidently, he did not have to remove all of the bone that he put in, so that's a good thing. So I hope that you've enjoyed today's video. Be healthy, be well, be blessed, and enjoy your week.